So today our event is History of Holi. So we have a speaker, Dhanesh Budhram, who's actually an alumni of UNC. And he's going to talk a little bit about the traditions and the history of Holi. And we'll have, like I said before, we'll have a Kahoot at the end. And they're pretty simple questions, but just pay attention. He has a really interesting presentation and he's very insightful. Also, it'd be really nice if you guys could turn on your cameras just to make everybody feel more comfortable. Um, and yeah, I'll give it over to him whenever he's ready.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Hi, my name is Dhanesh. Welcome to our Holi event. Today I'm going to talk to everyone about the history of Holi. I don't really share my screen on Zoom, but I'm going to try to so everyone can see our PowerPoint that I made, so it might be a little easier. Oh no, I can't do that. Okay, I cannot share my screen. Oh no, can't see my PowerPoint. That's okay.
Try again. I just
Try
enabled
again.
it. Yes.
Okay, I'll try again. Sorry. Okay, can everyone see now the history of Holi presentation? Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, I'm an alumni of UNC. Um, I'm not that, far away from UNC. I graduated in 2019, and I was a part of Hindu Yuva while on campus. So, I've been pretty involved with UNC in the past. So today I'm going to talk to everyone about the history of Holi. So we all hear what Holi Moli, we all hear about this festival where people throw colors and, we're always wondering what it is and why is this done? So I really hope that this presentation can give everyone like a basic foundation or understanding of what Holi is. So, if you were to, participate at the end of the week, or if you were to see any sort of, things online or on the television about Holi, I want you to have a better sense of what Holi is. Also, I noticed Dr. Lotspeak, who is also on this call, so a special welcome to her. She is one of my past professors, and she is part of the reason why I'm speaking to you all today. So special welcome to Dr. Lotspeak. Okay, so Holi. Okay, so Holi is a festival of spring, the festival of colors, and it's the festival of good times. It's a time commemorating our Hindu history where many great events occurred, such as the destruction of many evil forces on planet Earth. So in our Hindu scriptures, Hinduism doesn't really have a time as to when it began, but we've had many, many centuries of, things happening in the universe, and they've been written down by the saints and sages, and they've been passed down from generation to generation. So in Hinduism, many of these holidays that are celebrated are commemorating different, you know, things that have happened. So for Holi, especially, we've had many things happen, and there's four things that are popularly discussed and popularly remembered during the time of Holi. The main one is celebrating the destruction of the demon Hiranyakashipu by Lord Vishnu, who incarnated in the form of Narsim. Narsim means half man, half lion, and I'll speak about that a little bit later as to why Vishnu came in that form. It's also a time where Lord Vishnu incarnated later as Krishna, and he did this in order to destroy the demoness Putana, which I'll also talk about later. And we also learn about the the god of love, quote, I guess, quote, love, you can say, Kamadeva. He's kind of similar to Cupid in some respects. He was he was given up his mortal body during this time of Holi. And his consort, Rati, she fasted for 40 days. And after 40 days, she was blessed by Lord Shiva that she would, her Kamadeva would return in another form later on. So I'll speak about that a little bit later. Now, in addition to these, things in our Hindu scriptures, there's also, a scientific reason as to why Holi is celebrated, and that is, the change of season from winter to spring. In around March and April, everyone's excited because the flowers are blooming and, it's not as cold. Hopefully, there's no snow. So during this time of Holi, this is when, the flowers start to bloom and the birds start to chirp, and all of these great things happen, indicating springtime. So Holi is, commemorating those times. So I wanted to have a little date as to how long Holi's been celebrated. So there was a stone inscription found, and they dated that stone, and that stone had a reference to 300 BC, and it spoke about Holi on that inscription. So Holi's been celebrated for such a long time, and even before that by many, you know, great Hindus and non-Hindus as well. So Holi is a very prominent and popular festival to speak about. So Holi, actually, we have the big Holi coming up this weekend. However, Holi actually starts for Hindus practicing 40 days before this upcoming weekend. It's a date known as Vasant Panchami in the Hindu month of Magha. And on that day, a plant is worshipped, and we dig a hole and we plant it, and for 40 days we tend to that plant, and that plant is known as the Holika plant. And Holi occurs on the full moon of the Hindu month of Palguna, which is this upcoming weekend. So when the moon is full, that is when Holi, the celebrations with colors and singing, begin. So this plant, Holika, it's typically in the Caribbean, where my family's from in Guyana. They use a castor oil plant. Some people use coconut plants. Some people use, you know, just plain, a regular plant. And what they do is they infuse, you know, life into that plant, and they pray to it as a form of a devi or a divine mother for the 40 days. And afterwards, they ignite it on fire, which is would be this upcoming weekend, in like a bonfire. And what they do is they offer sacred herbs, liquids, and different things, because when that's done, all of the things that are put, so for example, um, sandalwood paste and coconuts or different things, those things, when they're burned and they go into the universe, it releases a really positive energy, and it can open up your airways, your lungs, and it helps with a lot of respiratory issues. So this tradition has been going on, for centuries, and it's a way of, promoting health in Hinduism. But I'll speak about that in a little bit more detail. So in our Hindu scriptures, there's many Hindu scriptures. There's not one main text in Hinduism. There's many different Puranas, which refer to the sacred narratives of the different forms of deities. So in the Bhagavad Mahapurana, it speaks about Lord Vishnu and his sacred narratives that have occurred. So in this case, we have Prahalada, who is the son of a king known as Hiranyakashipu. And this Prahalada, he was a very great devotee of Vishnu. Ever since he was in the womb of his mother, he heard his mother chanting and praying to Vishnu. He would hear, the Vedic chants that were done during the different worships. and he would listen to Vishnu. He would listen to Vishnu's, greatness, his prayers, etc. And when he was born, he was naturally inclined to doing, devotional worship. Now, Hiranyakashipu, he was a king, and he was the brother of Hiranyaksha. And these two brothers were incarnations of Vishnu's guardians, who are known as Jaya and Vijaya. And they had a curse that they would have to be reborn in different lives. And what they would do is they would be born as demons, and Lord Vishnu would destroy them because of the curse that they had. So Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, there were two incarnations of Jaya and Vijaya. And when the time came for Lord Vishnu to destroy Hiranyakasha in his past incarnation as Varaha, which is a boar, he destroyed Hiranyaksha. Now, Hiranyakashipu, who was the brother, he wasn't very happy with Vishnu because, his brother passed away and he was very resentful. And he grew a very big ego because he was king, and he didn't like anyone in the village praying to Vishnu or chanting or worshiping Vishnu as a god. He wanted everyone to worship him as a god. Now, when his son was growing up, he sees his son praying and worshiping, and he's very surprised, he's very shocked, and he gets so annoyed and so angry by this that he begins to, do a lot of really bad things to punish his son. And unfortunately, he tries different ways to kill his son, Prahalad. And, in the meantime, Prahalad, he stays with his devotion. He stays as a devotional son, and he keeps praying to Vishnu all this time. And Hiranyakashipu became so powerful that he had a blessing that he could only be killed, between the middle of the day. He couldn't be killed in the daytime or the nighttime. He had to be killed. He couldn't be killed by an animal or a person, and he couldn't be killed on outside or inside. So he became invincible, and he enlisted the help of his sister Holika to, as a way of trying to, destroy his son, essentially. So Holika, she was blessed that she would have a shawl, and her shawl would keep her protected from being burned by fire. So the plan was for Prahalad to sit in the lap of his aunt, and this fire to start, and Prahalad would be burned, and Holika would be saved. However, Prahalad had so much of devotion to Vishnu that Vishnu protected Prahalad, and instead Holika was burnt away for doing this terrible deed. So that's part of the reason why this plant is worshipped for the 40 days, and it is burned, signifying the beginning of the holy festival. So later on, after Prahlad was saved, Hiranyakashipu said, you know what? I've got to do this myself. It's my time. I have to, unfortunately, I have to try to kill my son. So as soon as he, tried to hurt his son Prahlad, Lord Vishnu incarnated, he appeared in the form of Narsimha, and he fought Hiranyakashipu and he destroyed him. And he didn't, he made sure to destroy him in order for his death to happen, because like I said earlier, he could only be killed, at certain times by certain things. So that's why Vishnu came in that form of a half man, half lion in order to destroy Hiranyakashipu. So this is a photo of Hiranyakashipu and Holika, and this is Prahalad sitting. And we also see here's a photo of Narsimha, the half man, half lion, and Hiranyakashipu. Okay, so there's other reasons as to why Holi is celebrated. It is also when Lord Shiva, who is another prominent deity in Hinduism, he destroyed the pride of Kamadeva. As I said earlier, Kamadeva was the god of love, and his job was to go around and incite infatuation in the deities and in people. So I don't want to get into too much detail because this is another, long story. But Lord Shiva, he was supposed to marry Mother Parvati, and Mother Parvati, she was fasting and doing her severe penances, and Lord Shiva was also meditating at the same time. And many of the gods and goddesses, they became worried that Lord Shiva wouldn't come out of his meditation, and they wanted Kamadeva to go and try to build infatuation into Shiva so Shiva can have affection for Parvati. So Kamadeva goes with an arrow, you can see in this photo, and he's about to shoot Lord Shiva with the arrow, in order to build that love. And Shiva, he immediately opens his third eye at the center of his forehead, and from the power of his eye, he, quote, burned Kamadeva. He didn't destroy him. What he did was he removed his body from him and made Kamadeva bodiless. So Rati, the consort of Kamadeva, she goes to Shiva and she asks Shiva, why did you do this? And the reason why this had to happen was because Kamadeva was needed later on in the incarnation of Vishnu in order during the war, which is known as the Mahabharata. That's a very, very big event in Hindu history. However, Kamadeva was supposed to incarnate as the son of Lord Krishna. So Rati, she fasted for 40 days from the Vasant Panchami to the full moon or the Purnima, and Lord Shiva blessed her that Kamadeva would be reborn as the son of Lord Krishna, and she and him would reunite, and that's what occurred. Now, this celebration usually occurs in the Tamil Nadu state and in South India and many of those diaspora areas, such as Malaysia, etc. They don't necessarily, do Holi with the colors, different things like what's done in other parts of India and other parts of the world, but this is how they celebrate Holi. So as I said earlier, Krishna is another incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and when he appeared on earth, there's a demoness known as Putana, and Putana, she was enlisted by Krishna's uncle, who is known as Kansa, and her job was to destroy all of the children of the village because Kamsa, he had received, a divine prophecy that he would be destroyed by Krishna. However, Kansa didn't know who Krishna was because there were many children being born. So Kansa, he enlisted the help of the demoness Putana in order to kill the children of Vrindavan. So Vrindavan is where Krishna was from. And Krishna meets Putana as a baby, and what Putana would do is she would take all of the children and be like a milk nurse for them, provide them with sustenance, milk. So when she got to Krishna, Krishna sucked the life out of her, literally, I guess you can say. And what he did was he saved the people of Vrindavan from this demoness. So that's another reason why Holi is celebrated. Okay, now Holi is typically celebrated by throwing the colors, and you know, I believe that Holi Moli is selling colors. So if you're interested, you can purchase it. Speak to one of the exec members. But the reason why colors are used is because it's representative of springtime. As I said earlier, where the flowers are blooming, and people tend to be happier in the spring because it's not as cold and it's sunny, it's nice, it's beautiful. So what people would do is they would wear white clothing and they would take powder and they would throw the powder on each other in a nice way, in an affectionate way. So each of these colors have different meanings. These are some of the meanings I found. Different people have different meanings depending on who you ask, but I thought these would be, good traits or good qualities to speak about. So blue represents courage or divinity. So when you look at some of the deities, for example, Krishna is blue. So many people associate, blue with courage or divinity because of Krishna, because he's blue. Another color is green, which is nobility. Green is popularly shown as Hanuman, who is um, the god of strength in Hinduism, and he's a monkey. He was a very great devotee of Lord Rama, who is another incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and many parts of the world he's shown as being green or being red. So green refers to nobility, red refers to affection or strength or piety, pink refers to purity, and the reason why pink is referred to as purity is because of like the lotus. So the same way as lotus flower, you can wet a lotus flower and the water wouldn't stick to the lotus. Anything that you throw on the lotus, it would just move away and the lotus would stay just as clean. So that's the reason why pink is used. Orange is a sign of intelligence. So if you notice, many of the Hindu saints and sages, they wear orange or saffron, which indicates their amount of knowledge or their amount of focus and respect. Yellow is another color. It's the color worn by Lord Vishnu, and typically it represents knowledge as well. Because for a person on the spiritual path, they typically dress in yellow as a child. In the old days in India, while they're receiving, guidance and teachings. So that's just a little review of the colors. So where do the colors come from? So there's a flower in India. It's known as the palash or the teshu tree, and it's also known as the flame of the forest or Bhutia monosperma. And this flower, it's picked, it's dried, and it's mashed into a fine powder. And you can either play by throwing the powder, or you can mix it with water and use a super soaker or a gun or a bucket. That's what we're doing, Guyana. Um, so in the powdered form is known as abir, and the water form is known as rung. Now, this flour, this powder, has some scientific qualities with it. There have been studies done, and this extract from the flour is known to help treat diabetes, cataracts, anemia, a lot of skin issues, kidney stones, urinary issues. All of this science is based on Ayurveda or medicinal sciences from the Hindu scriptures. So, there's many people believe that, these traditions were done, you know, not only for recreational activities, but also for, medicinal reasons or scientific reasons. Maybe it kept the people of the time, maybe it kept their skin clean from infections or blisters, or, maybe it was helping with the eyes. Now, I say this, but I don't want anyone to think that I'm talking, I'm saying this weekend, go and douse your skin with all of these different colors and it'll treat your acne, etc. Please don't do that. I don't mean that. It's a theory. So, I'm just giving you guys a little bit of background that I found about it. So this is one of the reasons why the colors are used in this fashion. So here's a few photos. This is the Lord Rama. He is another incarnation of Vishnu, as I said earlier. He was around thousands and thousands, hundreds of years ago. And here's a photo of him playing Holi with the people of Ayodhya. Here's Lord Krishna, who I spoke about earlier, who's also playing Holi with the people of Vrindavan as well. There's actually a, a narrative from the Bhagavad Mahapuran where Krishna, he was very dark. He was the color of the sky. And Radha wanted to put more colors on him because she was just doing it in a fun way. Radha was his divine companion. And what Radha did was she took these same colors and she put them on Krishna. And when the people saw Krishna having fun, Krishna was, God on earth, and he wanted everyone to have fun. So this is another reason why the colors became so popularly used. Okay, now Holi was also done in different parts of India's history. For example, in the Mughal Empire, when the Muslims ruled India, here's a painting from of the Emperor Jahangir who's playing Holi with the people of that time in 1800 India. So Holi really grew, you know, into something outside of just Hinduism. It was done by people of many faiths, and I know of Hindus and non-Hindus who celebrate Holi, even though they might not be practicing Hindus. Everyone is free to celebrate. Okay, so like I said earlier, my family is from Guyana in the Caribbean, and what we also do for Holi, in addition to throwing the colors, is to also sing chotals, which are a type of short songs. Everyone lines up in two lines, and it's like two groups that are singing against each other. And you have one person playing a drum or dolak, and the two groups are like it's like a singing competition almost. And they sing, you know, short short songs for each of the devis and devatas, each of the deities that are worshipped. For example, there's chautas for Ram, for Krishna, for Shiva, for Mother Saraswati, Mother Durga, Mother Lakshmi, all of the different deities. And in the Caribbean, it's a very popular way of singing. Actually, I play the drums at my temple, so I have to practice playing drums because it can get really intense and then your hand gets blistered and stuff. So I have to practice. But singing chautal is something that's not only common in the Caribbean, but some parts of India and in places like Fiji, Mauritius, etc. That's another part of Holi. It's a little more of the religious aspect, but it's also a part of Holi. Okay, so that was the end of my little talk. So Holi is a very, very great and popular festival. If you look at your iPhones, if you have one, you'll see that on Monday it says Holi on the top of the day. So Holi, some people are celebrating Holi. They're gonna do the different rituals on Saturday night and then start the bonfire on Saturday night. Some people wait until Sunday, but once that bonfire fire ends, what they typically do is they take the ashes from the plant and they mix it with the gulal, with the abir, and they start by you know um, making offerings to the deities first, and then with your family, and then with the people. Um, so it's a very great time for people to come together and worship. Um, you know, Pre-COVID, it's a very big event. I'm sure people will come together in many parts, in many places. For example, I believe the HSNC in North Carolina, um, if it wasn't for COVID, they would have a big festival. And for example, here in Miami, where I'm in, we have a really big celebration as well. So Holy Moly, maybe next year for any students that are still here, you know, we'll go back to our regular pomp and show, and hopefully we can all have a good time and we can come together and we can learn about something. So I really hope everyone enjoyed my presentation, and if you have any questions, you can message me, or if we do have time before the code, if anyone has any pressing questions, feel free to let me know. Also, my background is I was a biology major at UNC, a pre-med biology major with Spanish and chemistry minors. But I was really interested in, religious studies and Asian studies. And, I'm a Hindu priest myself. I do officiate pujas, so I know a lot of this already from my head. And I can get into a little more detail if you have questions. In addition, I recently started as an intern for the Hindu Council of America. So um, what I do is I help them with their different events and stuff. I work with a policy and advocacy group called Hindu Pack. So if you're interested in more information about that, you can feel free to speak to me afterwards. Oh, I see there's a chat, but I wasn't paying attention to the chat. Okay, there's some questions here. Okay, Dinesh, could you briefly go over some of the major themes of Hinduism for those who aren't familiar with Hinduism in the call? Okay, so Hinduism, we believe in one God, and that one God comes in different forms. And for example, I spoke about Lord Vishnu or Lord Shiva. They're all different deities, but they're all God. And Hindus believe in reincarnation, where your soul travels from life onto life, even though you might lose your body. For example, in the Bhagavad Gita, it says that when someone passes away, it's like you're changing clothes almost. So the term reincarnation refers to the soul. And Hindus believe everyone has a soul, and that soul moves from birth to birth to birth. So earlier I spoke about Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu being reincarnations of Jaya and Vijaya. So they continued to be reborn as they passed away. And when you hear of these people passing away and being destroyed by the deities, everything in Hinduism happens for a reason. There's always a backstory as to why many of these things occur. So it's all a quote divine plan in Hinduism. So anyone want any more explanations, or we're gonna move on to Kahoot? I can speak a little bit more if you'd like.
We can go ahead and start the Kahoot if no one else has any questions. I'm going to share my screen.
Oh, Dr. Losby had a question.
Yeah.
Okay, do they do Ras Leela in Guyana? They do, but they do it in a small sphere. So that refers to the time when Krishna, he danced with the gopis or the cow maidens of the time, and they would all dance around in circles. So that tradition is still going on. There's also Ram Leela, which is the sacred narrative between it's the drama production of the Ramayana, which is an epic. I spoke about Lord Rama earlier, but that'll begin actually after Holi, because we have Ram Navami, which is the festival of the appearance of Lord Rama. So they'll be beginning that after Holi. So yeah. Okay, let's move on to the Kahoot.
Thank you so much for speaking. I really enjoyed your presentation, and I'm sure everyone else did. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can everyone see this? Okay, so go ahead and join.